Good morning. Welcome to Daily Focus. I apologize. I was not able to do one yesterday, but had a full schedule and it wasn't next to my computer. And I need to learn to use my phone more often in between times. But anyway, I'm glad that you have joined me today. And this is a beautiful day and certainly a beautiful fall week for the most part. And I just want to jump into Second Corinthians chapter 3. I've entitled this one, Who is Your Story? Paul is making quite a statement here regarding the Corinthian church that it's not a letter written with ink, but rather this is a story. And they are his story. They are the epistle that is a commentary of his discipleship. And so, as we look at our own lives, I think it's important for us to look and ask ourselves the question, who is my story? Who is it that I have reproduced what God has taught me in? Who is it that I'm taking the things which God is teaching me about his character, about his program, the use of that which has been entrusted to me, and as I have learned to yield it back to God and bear spiritual fruit, who is it that I have reproduced myself in? And so in Second Corinthians chapter 3, Paul simply says, do we begin again to commend ourselves, or need we, as some others, epistles of commendation to you, or letters of commendation from you? Ye are our epistle, written in our hearts, known and read of all men. For as much as ye are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Christ, ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart. And such trust have we through Christ to Godward. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God, who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament, or the New Covenant, the mystery of the church, not of the letter, not the letter of the law, not in legalistic terms, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. So here is a challenge to our discipleship. It really is a question where Paul is saying, how is your discipleship going? How is your reproduction of your spiritual life going as you see it in the people you are discipling? Unfortunately, today in America, we have become so selfish, so self absorbed that we really, if we're not careful, we don't have our young Timothys and Tituses of the faith. We really just kind of do life and hope that somebody catches something, or that somebody is influenced to some degree by us, whatever it is, but we're not intentional in our discipleship. I would say that one exception to that maybe is our understanding of parenting, because to a large example, to a large extent, the best example of discipleship is parenting. And so I think that's wonderful. We should be taking the things that God has taught us and teaching it to our children. But there is a bigger picture of the new covenant, the New Testament, the church age, God's design for the church. Ultimately, God's design for Christians is that Christians would reproduce themselves. It's not only true in sharing the gospel and seeing people get saved, but taking the things which we have learned and committing them to faithful men who then can disciple somebody else. And so the question is who is it that people look at and they learn something about you because of your investment in that person? And so Paul is saying to the Corinthian church, listen, do you really need commendation? Do you really need somebody to write and talk about how successful you are in the Christian life? Is it that you want some type of outward uh, letter? Do you want some type of outward credibility that simply says, yes, you're living the Christian life? Paul said, listen, I don't need a letter. I have you. I have poured my life into you, and I have loved you, and even scolded you, and yet continued to invest in you, and because I believe that this is God's program, and I'm participating in this new covenant program, the church, and I can look at you, and people, if they want to know about me, they can look at you and say, this is who Paul is. And I think it's a wonderful thing that God also reminds us that we are able ministers not because we're sufficient in ourselves. You are not capable. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough to draw from your flesh the ability to disciple someone else. But our sufficiency is in Christ. In other words, God gives me everything I need in order to disciple someone. And the question is, am I doing it? Who is my story? Who is it that people look at them and better understand me? And I think it would be wonderful for all of us to just stop and think today and through the weekend, who is my story? Who is it that I have reproduced myself in? Who is it that I'm striving to reproduce myself in? And then the next question is, who are your grandchildren in your discipleship as you have shared your spiritual journey and your spiritual growth, and you've taken the things you've learned and entrusted it to someone else who then has entrusted it to someone else, and who are your grandchildren spiritually speaking, and how does the legacy or the letter unfold? And so I think the challenge is good here in Second Corinthians chapter 3, that we ask ourselves, am I really a part of the discipleship program God designed for the church? Or have I kind of got caught up in living life for me? And so, a great challenge, a great question to ask, and a great encouragement to be reminded that it's not about holding people to the letter of the law, it is about helping them walk in the Spirit. The law is binding, it kills, it defeats it. Everyone wants to be judgmental and hold everyone to a standard that they're not willing to hold themselves to. That's not what discipleship is. Discipleship is teaching people to walk in the Spirit, to honor and glorify the Spirit, to yield to the Spirit, because there is life. May God bless you. I look forward to seeing you again next week. I hope you have a great weekend.